Hi, and welcome to another edition of Land and Legacy by Griffith Realty. I'm Scott Griffith, President, and this is my sister Carol, the Vice President. And today we're pleased to have Mike Giorgio from the General Manager of Vail Resorts, Mount Brighton, here and to talk about the history of Mount Brighton and what they're doing for the future. Carol and I grew up a mile from Mount Brighton and can remember when they used to push the dirt around that created Mount Brighton. And so we can remember almost every single year as they started out a new big hill being built. And in those days, there were no chairlifts yet. All we looked at were rope tows, but they got bigger and bigger till finally they decided to keep a hill here or there and put a chairlift on it. Yeah. So for us, it's a throwback in time to talk about this, and now to have such a significant player that doing such cool stuff with it. It's great, Mike, to have you here and be able to tell us about Vail's future with us. It's great.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Happy
Sure.
to be here, and quite a long ways we've come from just a couple of tow ropes.
Yeah. So Carol, what type of skis did you use for ski on? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I don't remember, but I do remember some bad falls on the hills, and I do remember the tow ropes used to twist.
Oh yeah.
So at one point in time, there was a belt with your ski
Yes,
jacket
I've seen
that was really
pictures of that
stylish.
before. Yeah.
Until the belt starts wrapping around the tow
Oh,
rope.
boy,
And I
yeah.
remember one time going up in the air off my skis in the air, and then they came out and pulled the switch, and I dropped, 6 feet to the ground.
Yeah.
All because of those belts.
We've the ski industry has spent a lot of years bringing our safety measures in line to avoid things
sure.
like that.
Yes,
They have the experiences all be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think I mentioned off camera, but we talked about that when we were young. It had to be even before 10 years old. We would on Sunday nights for our entertainment as a family, we would sit in the old. What was it? The old station wagon in the parking lot and watch the skiers come down the hill. And the big thing was watch for wipeouts. And that was so much fun as a kid to think that was so funny to watch. And so we feel very connected to the hill when you grow up so close to it.
Yeah, no, it's a special place. I love hearing the stories about the history, right? 60 plus years of operating. And a lot of different iterations. And, we have employees that work at the Hill. In fact, our manager of mountain operations, Mike Bergen, but we call him Spike. He's been there almost 40 years.
Isn't that amazing?
And
Isn't that great?
Yeah, right. And, he's seen everything, and that history and that dedication is one of the things I love so much about Mount Brighton specifically. Sure. And then hearing the stories from folks who have been skiing there literally since they were young, and now they're some in their 60s, 70s years old. They're still skiing there every weekend or every day. It's amazing to hear those stories. So I love talking about those kinds of things.
And just the because it is such a tall place and it's so iconic to the community. Yeah. I mean, if there's nothing else, when we travel anywhere, in the region outside of Michigan, we can say, oh, we live near Mount Brighton. They all know where Mount Brighton. Everybody knows where Mount Brighton. Everybody skied.
Such a privilege to have something so amazing right in your backyard. Right. And I think it's one of the things that I think is so unique about Brighton is how close it is to so many people that get to come out here. And whether you're in Brighton and it's right around the corner for you, or even if you're just down the road in Detroit or Ann Arbor,
sure.
It's so close and convenient. It's funny when you talk about that being the point. Every morning when I come in, especially in the winter, I come around the curve there by Chalice Road. Yeah. And I feel the kind of buildup of joy as I come around that corner, and I'm anticipating to see how much snow did we make last night? How wide is it going to be? How much and I can tell the moment I come around that corner and I see it, and it's and happy to say most of the time I'm super delighted to see what we've done, because I can kind of anticipate based on the temperatures and what my I know the team's plan is. But yeah, it is so iconic is the right word. And then the other side of it too, at the end of the day, a lot of the time I spend the end of my day up on the hill. Really? And I get to see the sunsets from there, which is just such a it's just such an amazing way to spend your day. So I appreciate that.
Over the years, the things that have happened in Mount Brighton. So there was a period in high school, I had a hang glider, and there's a short window. They let us hang glide off the hill.
Wow.
Now I was probably their worst nightmare because I had already done ground skimming, and so one time I almost left a valuable part of my body at the top of a snowmaking machine because I couldn't turn the darn hang glider coming down the hill.
I've heard many stories of things that have happened at Mount Brighton. I have never heard about anyone hang gliding.
Oh yeah,
that is a first.
There was a few years where they let us do that, and there were better people than I.
I got to give you kudos. That's a lot of courage to do.
Well, given I almost killed myself, it was.
I was thoroughly entertained watching it.
Carol was the roadie, and she would go along to pick up and clean up after.
I wasn't the best spotter. I just giggled a lot, like, oh my God, he crashed again.
Yeah, you encouraged him, right? Blessing and a curse, maybe.
So for us, it's fun stuff, but now it's always been a huge attraction, but now that we go by and see the investment that Vail's put into it and how much nicer, it was always nice, but it's much nicer now because there's obviously been capital reinvested.
Absolutely.
And it's brought up to date, and the number of people and cars. So tell me, what do we talk about scope-wise? The population you bring to the community is significant. So when you look at ski schools and you look at pass holders and you look at that, I don't know. What do you estimate? We're like thousands, but what do you have any guesstimate?
Yeah, we put a lot of people through.
Yes,
I don't always pay so much attention to how many people are on the hill at any one moment.
Sure.
What I can say is I think like some of the bigger metrics that I focus on, one of them specifically is when you think about inviting new folks into the sport. That's one of the things I'm really heavily vested in and pay a lot of attention to. We have this wonderful program called SOS Outreach Program. And on top of that as well, we have the Epic for Everyone program, which is internally funded program that reaches out to youth in disadvantaged areas and communities that don't typically get to come out to skiing, or maybe skiing's not their first thought when they're thinking about how they're going to spend their weekend.
Right.
And we supply them with the means to come out to Mount Brighton. And last year, I think we had somewhere close to about 300 new individuals, never been on the snow before.
Oh, that's cool.
And they were from Hamtramck area of Detroit. The majority of them were from down there. A lot of other areas as well. Those are the things that I really like. We had, out of the 300, most of them came at least 2 to 5 times.
Yeah,
so
cool.
like the amount of times that they got to come out, and we supply them with the gear, and the SOS group, they do a lot of the hard work. They organize the kids and the parents. They get everything signed, right? They make sure all the permission slips are there. They do their transportation. We supply the space, obviously, and the equipment, and the instructors. So like that right there is huge for us. And then, on top of that, we have a huge base of pass holders who come out and enjoy us. I would say most of our pass holders probably come out 5 times a week.
Wow.
They're out there.
Wow.
A lot of kids are out there after school. They're racing, or they're in the terrain park. And then you see a lot of families on the weekends.
Sure.
And then that translates directly into, those folks who enjoy us all midweek or all season long. They translate to a lot of guests who are then probably, going out to some of our Western resorts or our Vermont resorts or our Eastern resorts. So we see a lot of folks and a lot of different folks, and we're, it's
really
awesome.
Leads to the dimension that Vail brought to Mount Brighton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mount Brighton went from a destination, a great place to learn to ski or to ski all the time, depending on what your level was, to all of a sudden Vail offers the multi-dimensional. You don't have just Mount Brighton anymore. It's great that it's convenient, but you can also have special, and you're linked to it all.
Yeah, the Epic Pass.
The Epic Pass, you're linked to all the Vail associations.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best deal out there. Yeah. 41 resorts, right, including Australia and now Europe. And you could go to British Columbia and Whistler back home. So four countries, and 37 resorts in the United States, right? 6 of the biggest in Colorado, Vermont, Tahoe region, Park City. So like it's the best value. On top of that, there's also the option if you just want to ski at Mount Brighton, like if you love Mount Brighton and that's where you go and we see a lot of people who, hey, we love Mount Brighton. We ski or snowboard here every single day. And they just buy the Mount Brighton Pass, which is also a great deal.
Right.
We also have value passes for the Midwest and the Northeast value pass that allows just in our region of the Midwest and Northeast region. So there's just the dimensions of how many different options there are out there for the different folks. You know, you can be out on our hill and, you know, the name of the game is plan early, right? The earlier you buy, the cheaper it's going to be. Because like beat the rush, right?
Right.
And you could be on our hill for as cheap as, you know, if you don't want to commit to a full pass, you could be on the hill with a pre-commitment in our Epic Day Pass, which is like the smallest product we offer. And it can be as cheap as $42 a day, which, you know, is more than half off what a day ticket is walk up. So
that's phenomenal.
It really is the way to go. And being part of a large network of resorts allows us to be able to offer that value to our guests. It's
very admirable what Vail's vision is to do that. You know, we talked a little bit about that. We aren't just the only like regional ski resort that Vail's bought to do this with, and it's a great concept for both parties. Yeah. Everybody's a winner in this one.
10 ski resorts in the Midwest alone is, and you know, I talk to those my colleagues every single day, right?
Sure.
Like they're some of my best buds. We talk often because we deal with a lot of the same things, right? Like we deal with a lot of the same, you know, like the Midwest group of skiers and snowboarders are passionate, right? This is where people learn and fall in love with this sport. And also, like, we deal with the same issues with, like, weather and humidity.
I was about to say that common weather patterns.
Yeah,
you know if it's going to be cold or not if you're talking to somebody in Minneapolis.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And so we have Minnesota, Wisconsin, Ohio, Missouri even. We own 2 ski resorts, the only 2, I believe, in Missouri. And then Indiana as well. So, yeah, we have that's another thing that it brings is, like, I have those folks and to share like best practices with and talk about things, right? Or just like ask for advice, right? And to share employees. The gentleman I named earlier, Spike, last year, Paoli Peaks, which is one of our resorts in Indiana, was trying to work through a project. And, you know, Spike has an immense amount of knowledge with snowmaking and grooming. And so he picked up, went down to Indiana and spent a week down there and just helped them out with a project. Like that kind of camaraderie is something that you really only get with a network and really a community and family as big as Vail Resorts.
Inside consulting's perfect.
It's amazing. It helps all of us. Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So I mean, imagine there's always plans. I mean, I've driven by in the last couple of weeks, and maybe you were testing or whatever, but they had all the snow making machines out. The other day they had all the lights on.
We did.
But I noticed that it's like all digital lighting now. I don't know if that's new this year or has been there that way for a while, but you're just like continually upgrading your games.
We had the snow guns going, which is great. So last week we had, you know, and this is the tough thing to see. I often get like maybe a text message or an email from somebody, and they're like, "Hey, I saw the temps were down. Are you guys gonna make snow?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this absolutely." And like we got to look at the length of time we have as well, right? Because like it's easy to bring up an app and say, "Oh, it says 27 degrees. That's exactly what they need." Well, let's look at humidity. Let's look at a couple other things. And how long is it going to be 27 degrees?
I was going to say, one day of it is not going to do anything.
Or even overnight. I mean, we could do a lot in 8 hours overnight. To be honest with you, I mean, we could transform that hill in less than 48 hours to open if we had the temperature.
Wow.
But sometimes you see those low temps, and it's only for an hour or two. Yeah. And like sometimes it takes us about an hour to get set up. So we saw the 27 degree temps, and like it was marginal because humidity was around 90%. It wasn't really great, but this is a perfect opportunity to get our team out there, make sure we're checking all the boxes, do pressure testing, make sure that, hey, we found 3 leaks that we had to fix. So that's the whole name of the game.
It's nice when those leaks it warms up and they're now just water, not an ice pile.
Yeah. And like that was one of those mornings where I was driving around the corner, like I said earlier, and I was like, how much? And, and the temperatures didn't get quite as cold as we anticipated, but the technology is spectacular, and we actually are looking into furthering that. Hopefully this year, we have a plan to introduce some semi-automated snowmaking, where they have these weather stations that can kind of dictate how much water is pushed through the local machine, right? Because right now we kind of just we do testing, like we do a bounce test to actually see if it's making snow. We literally put our arm out and watch the crystals drop, and if they bounce, it's snow, and if it doesn't, it's water. So it's still kind of like banging two rocks together at times. But like there's so much innovation out there, and like we're invested in like bringing that to our hill. And then some of the smaller things like that just go unnoticed. But like you said, the lights were on. We're transferring all our lights to LED. We've got like 75% of them done already. Sure. And all the interior lights are already done. So we're working on the big ones on hill.
That's the ones I noticed. And I thought, wow, that's
I mean, when you go out there now, it's just like, it's like daytime.
Yeah.
And it's so, it's energy efficient, right? So it's so much better for all the reasons. Our commitment to zero, which we have as a company by 2030 is net zero emissions or to landfill as a company. So like, it's better for the environment. It's better for our bills at the end of the month. Yeah. And it's just it just feels better, looks better. It's it's
a clean light. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of those kinds of things that we're always doing to try and make the experience better for our guests and our employees.
I can remember as a kid growing up, and there'd be these dark areas in the hill. I mean, it was just the way the lights worked. Yeah. And sometimes some of the worst spills were because you did not see that coming,
and like we still recognize,
that much.
And we still recognize those. Like sometimes, like we change stuff around this year again because, like, I think like the habits of individuals change the way based on like maybe where a terrain park or how we built a terrain park this year, or where the race for high school race is going to take place. So we actually added a bunch of lights this year as well, just because like the more we can light up, the safer it is and the better it is. Yeah.
So, I mean, when we grew up, there weren't terrain parks. So tell me about terrain parks. I mean, they're obviously very popular.
They are, yeah.
So,
this is the best way I always say it. Even on the day that there's rain and maybe it's not the best conditions out, there's always people in the terrain park. Literally. Yeah. And I mean, I think that goes with ski racers as well. Like the high school teams, they're always out there when their race is there, right? So that dedication, but the terrain parks have really taken off over the past 15 years. Yes. And it's important, and we pride ourselves. I think we have one of the best terrain parks in all of Michigan, maybe even beyond that. Wow, that's great. And we take a lot of pride in it, and I think our guests really love it. And I also think like what a healthy way we see a lot of kids, right? That's what we get, a lot of high school kids. What a healthy way to spend your day after school, right? Doing a physical activity, working with others, trying to better yourself, trying to push yourself, really, right? Like it's just it's a great way to spend your time. And
Joe, you think I didn't terrain park this year?
Boy, I'm good at the terrain park, and I don't even do it anymore.
Or something,
and on top of that, right? Yeah, like there's it's throwing yourself off of a jump or jumping on or willingly jumping onto a piece of metal as a rail comes with a certain amount of risk. So we do a lot of work to make sure that we mitigate that risk as much as possible. We have the guys out there, all the time. They're raking, they're cleaning, they're making sure they're testing it. They're making sure everything's, it's super popular. And cool. And it's amazing to watch. I'm always in awe of what these kids, specifically the kids, can do out there. It is mind-blowing at times.
No fear and a lot of guts, right?
And the talent, the raw talent, it's just amazing. Yeah.
Since you've purchased, you've put a lot into the facilities, and I don't know if there's been much changes, but boy, what a beautiful change and evolution of the building that
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean,
oh yeah.
it served its purpose. It was very utilitarian before, but now it's actually like someplace you go and you don't feel uncomfortable. It's like you're entertained to be there, not just on the hill, right? Yes.
I look specifically at like Ord Creek Restaurant and Ski Hill Grill. Like they're beautiful. Like I love those bars and those restaurants. They're gorgeous. The big windows, like, and they still have the same like that same. Rustic isn't the right word, but they still have that ski lodge feel to it, right?
Lodges,
the big A-frame with the windows and the sun coming in, big fireplaces inside. Yeah, and it's just a little bit more modern, nice. which is great because it allows us to offer a little bit more modern product. And you know, we have great beers on tap, great mixed drinks, great food. So yeah, the investment is. We're proud of it. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And we talked a bit about it's nice that there's at least this year to try to at least help out the chamber and all. There's been a few activities done in the summer that has allowed for the community to get some benefit. Well, hopefully you too. And then over time, maybe it'll catch on and we'll keep doing those things because it's fun to have. It seems nice to have it purposed in the summer, not just in the winter. Yeah.
I think it's probably one of the bigger questions I get regular is like, what are you guys thinking about with summer? Like, when are you going to get something going in the summer? And yeah, we have to be very thoughtful about that because we do a lot of that work that we just talked about in the summer, right? Yes, and so we're running big machinery. We're you know, right? Right. We have to do a lot of load testing on all our ski lifts. There's just an immense, like this year we moved one of our carpets in our learner area just slightly, roughly about 20 meters to the what we call looker's right. So to the right if you're looking up on the hill, which seemingly most people wouldn't even notice when they come back. It expanded the amount of space we have for our learning terrain and to be able to teach more folks in a bigger area. And makes it a little bit more accessible and easier for our staff to teach those lessons. So like, but that, you know, that's a big lift. It took a lot of work to do that for our team. And yeah, if we were, you know, they would be limited in when they could do that. So we've been really thoughtful about how can we bring events, be part of the community, and bring fun. Really, that's what it's about. I have an events background, and so like I love events, and it's also about making sure that like we talk to the community and make sure like they know what to expect from it, and that they are on board and they understand the benefit for everyone. And yeah, a lot of what we did this summer was to benefit the chamber. A lot of that money went to the chamber for their fundraising, for their budget for the year. It was great. It was awesome.
For win-win.
And we've got a lot of positive feedback. So we're hopeful to continue those and maybe expand a little bit, but I don't think we're looking, you know, we're not trying to have a concert every weekend.
Right.
It's just not sustainable really for us. Yeah.
So we're near the end, but tell us about what's the future? Give me either short run or long run. What do you think? What do you think? You're the guy who can guide the future here.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think like the future of our sport is bringing new folks into the sport. Like that's the most important piece.
I get that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think like for us specifically as a company and here, it's like I think there's a big part of that focus is bringing more inclusivity into our sport, which is we're hyper focused on as a resort and as a company. But really, it's anyone who wants to come out and enjoy our sport. We want to create the space and give you a product that you know runs the spectrum. It's affordable, it's accessible, and it's in your backyard, right? Mount Brighton's right in your backyard. And so that like that's the ski industry is growing rapidly, and we say bring it on. Like we want more people to love our sport.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we're going to continue to invest in the hill, you know, as these things as we see fit, right? And that's investing in the terrain, investing in the facilities and the actual like infrastructure. I think one of the bigger ones we did this past year, which again, it's people don't notice. Hopefully they do. Is we did a lot of work in the parking lot. Like there's no more potholes.
Actually, it is noticeable.
Good.
If for people drive by all summer, you go, they're doing a lot of work.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that. But like, I mean, just continue to make it better. Continue to grow the enjoyment of the sport. Yeah, and make sure that we are as part of the community as we can be.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Mike. You did a great job. We really do appreciate it. Maybe you'll bring back hang gliding, and I'll be able to come back. I still got the darn thing.
I would, that
For entertainment
boy.
purposes.
Trust me, you only see me do it once, I think, and then I'll be done. So anyway.
That's hilarious. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We love having you here. So thanks so much.
Thanks for all
we
you
really
do for our
appreciate
community.
it.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It's a good partnership.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Well, with that, we'd like to thank you for watching another edition of Land and Legacy by Griffith Realty.